The suffocating, humid air of the jungle canopy presses down on you like a wet, heavy wool blanket. You are 19 years old, kneeling in the slick, red mud of your own village square. The air is thick with a metallic stench of fresh blood, burning thatch, and raw terror. Surrounding you are dozens of men wearing mismatched military fatigues, their faces painted with white ash, gripping rusted assault rifles. They are the Liberation Front, the brutal militia that controls the northern province. Standing directly in front of you is a militia commander with dead, yellowed eyes and a machete strapped to his hip. He casually tosses a heavy, scratched Tokarev pistol into the mud at your feet. Kneeling beside the gun is the village school teacher, a man who taught you how to read, now weeping and begging for his life. The commander does not yell. He leans down, his breath reeking of cheap tobacco, and offers you a chilling binary choice. You can pick up the pistol and execute the teacher to prove your loyalty to the revolution, or you can refuse, and his men will drag your 14-year-old sister into the back of their transport trucks forever. Your heart hammers a frantic, erratic rhythm against your ribs. You look at the sobbing teacher. You look at your sister, held back by two grinning soldiers. A violent, agonizing war erupts inside your conscience. But the primal, unadulterated instinct for survival is a crushing weight. You squeeze your eyes shut, actively shattering the very last fragment of your innocence. You pick up the cold, muddy steel, you aim, and you pull the trigger. The deafening crack echoes through the trees, silencing the teacher forever. The commander smiles, clapping a heavy hand on your trembling shoulder. You have just sold your soul to the darkest depths of the jungle. Level 1. For the next 8 months, your entire existence is reduced to the brutal, agonizing mechanics of survival. You are a foot soldier, the absolute lowest rung on the militia's bloody ladder. You do not have a name anymore. You are simply a body used to carry weight. You march for 14 hours a day through triple canopy rainforests, a 60-pound canvas sack of mortar shells, digging painful, bleeding trenches into your shoulders. You sleep on the wet ground, shivering in the freezing rain, constantly battling dysentery and the unrelenting bites of tropical insects. The indoctrination is relentless and physical. If you fall behind on the march, the corporals beat you with bamboo canes until your skin splits. You learn to eat raw roots, grubs, and the scraps of whatever the senior soldiers throw away. But the true horror is the combat. During your first raid on a government outpost, the chaos is blinding. Tracers cut through the dark, and men are screaming in the mud. You fire your weapon blindly into the shadows until the magazine clicks empty. When the smoke clears, you walk past the mangled bodies of the National Army soldiers. You expect to feel a crushing, unbearable guilt, but the psychological erosion has already taken hold. You feel absolutely nothing, except a dull, hollow relief that you are still breathing. You have adapted to the slaughter. You are becoming a beast of the brush.
Level 2. The promotion does not come with a ceremony. It comes with an execution. You are now proving. You are given a tarnished red beret and placed in command of a squad of 12 new conscripts. They are terrified, malnourished kids who look exactly like you did a year ago. Your job is no longer just to carry ammunition. Your job is to enforce the absolute, unforgiving discipline of the militia. One night, while camped near a swollen river, you catch a 16-year-old recruit trying to slip away into the dark. He is crying, whispering that he just wants to go home to his mother. You know this boy. He's from a neighboring village. A suffocating moral tension grips your throat. If you let him run, the jungle will likely consume him. But if the commanders find out you turned a blind eye, they will execute you for treason. You look at the boy's desperate, pleading eyes. You aggressively crush your empathy under the heavy weight of your own survival. You do not let him run. You tackle him to the mud, drag him back to the center of the camp, and wake the commanding officer. You are forced to hold the boy down while the commander shatters both of his kneecaps with a sledgehammer as a lesson to the others. You listen to his agonizing screams, your face an emotionless frozen mask. You realize that in this ruthless ecosystem, mercy is a fatal disease, and brutality is the only shield that protects you. Level 3. You ascend to the rank of trusted. You are promoted to lieutenant and handed control of a forward operating base. It is a fortified camp hidden deep within the mountain valleys, overlooking a cluster of civilian farming villages. You no longer sleep in the mud. You have a canvas tent, a real mattress, and a constant supply of imported cigarettes. Your objective is not combat. Your objective is the ruthless extraction of resources. You are the tax collector for the revolution. Every week, you lead your heavily armed squad into the villages to collect the revolutionary contribution. It is plain, unadulterated extortion. You demand 60% of their rice harvest and a quota of young men for the militia's endless war. During one collection, a brave village elder steps forward, pleading that the drought has ruined their crops. He begs you to take less, swearing that the children will starve to death if you take their remaining food. You stand before the elder smoking a cigarette. You know he is telling the truth. You can see the ribs showing on the children hiding behind the huts. But if you return to the high command short on your quota, your own head will roll. You do not argue. You do not raise your voice. You simply draw your sidearm and shoot the elder's eldest son in the stomach. As the man bleeds out in the dirt, you calmly announce that the quota has just doubled. By morning, the terrified villagers deliver every last grain of rice they possess. You walk back to your camp, pouring a glass of stolen whiskey, realizing the dark, unshakable truth of power. You do not need to fight a war if you can perfectly weaponize fear.
Level 4. Your cold mechanical efficiency buys your ticket out of the deep bush. You're now an operator. You're transferred to the eastern border, a lawless, chaotic stretch of territory where the dense jungle gives way to massive open-pit mines. The romantic illusion of fighting a political revolution is completely shattered. You discover that the militia is not a political movement at all. It is a multi-million-dollar criminal enterprise. You are the logistics commander. You oversee the extraction of coltan, gold, and blood diamonds. Thousands of desperate, undocumented civilians are forced into the deep, unstable pits under the threat of your rifles, digging the rare earth minerals out with their bare hands. Your responsibility is to guard the product and manage the invisible supply chain. You orchestrate midnight meetings on the edge of the border. You sit in the back of idling jeeps, meeting directly with corrupt National Army generals, the very men your militia is supposedly at war with. You slide thick canvas bags full of raw, uncut diamonds across the leather seats. In exchange, the generals provide you with crates of rocket-propelled grenades, military-grade communications gear, and heavy machine guns. You are actively funding the enemy to arm yourself. The hypocrisy is absolutely nauseating, but the money flowing through your hands is astronomical. You begin to quietly skim thousands of dollars off the top, burying the cash in hidden lockboxes. You no longer view the war as a tragedy. You view the war as a highly lucrative, self-sustaining business model. Level 5. You are summoned to the Central High Command. You have now entered the highest echelon of the militia's leadership, operating from a sprawling, heavily fortified concrete compound hidden beneath the jungle canopy. You wear a tailored uniform, drink rare French cognac, and command a personal guard of 20 ruthless enforcers. You are the chief of intelligence, sitting at the right hand of the supreme warlord. But proximity to absolute power is terrifying. The supreme warlord is a deeply paranoid, unpredictable psychopath who sees assassins in every shadow. The inner circle is a toxic, suffocating snake pit of backstabbing commanders desperately vying for the warlord's favor. Your intelligence network intercepts a series of coded radio transmissions. You discover that General Kaba, the very man who promoted you to lieutenant years ago, the closest thing you had to a mentor in this hell, is secretly negotiating a peace treaty with the federal government behind the warlord's back. The protocol is absolute. Treason is punished by a slow, agonizing death. A violent war rages inside your chest. If you cover for Kaba and the warlord discovers your silence, you will both be flayed alive. In this system, loyalty to individuals is a myth. Survival demands proactive betrayal. You invite Kaba to your quarters for a private dinner to discuss troop movements. You pour him a glass of vintage wine, offering him a warm, reassuring smile. As he raises the glass to his lips, you give a subtle nod. Two of your enforcers step from the shadows, wrapping a steel wire garrote around Kaba's neck. You sit perfectly still, slowly cutting your steak, listening to him choke and thrash against the floorboards until his eyes burst blood vessels and he goes completely still. You wipe your mouth with a napkin, feeling absolutely nothing. You have successfully purged your mentor, and the Warlord rewards you with command of Kaba's entire army.
Level 6. You ascend to the rank of authority. You are a regional warlord. You command an army of 7,000 heavily armed combatants across 3 massive provinces. You are no longer fighting skirmishes in the mud. You direct a full-scale mechanized war. The federal government launches a massive offensive to retake a key industrial city on the edge of your territory. They deploy attack helicopters and armored columns. Your frontline commanders are panicking, begging for permission to retreat into the mountains to avoid annihilation. You refuse. Retreating shows weakness, and weakness destroys the fragile architecture of your empire. You sit in your underground bunker, bathed in the blue light of satellite maps and tactical displays. You pick up your encrypted radio and issue an order that crosses the ultimate threshold of human depravity. You do not order your men to attack the military columns. You order your heavy artillery batteries to blindly shell the densely populated civilian center of the city. For 6 hours, you listen to the distant rolling thunder of the bombardment. Thousands of high-explosive shells rain down on markets, hospitals, and apartment blocks. You intentionally create a catastrophic humanitarian crisis of such immense proportions that the international community panics. The United Nations demand an immediate ceasefire to treat the thousands of mutilated, bleeding civilians. The federal army is forced to halt their advance to manage the chaotic fallout. You successfully break the government's offensive by deliberately massacring innocent people. You watch the casualty reports roll in on your encrypted tablet, completely detached. You are no longer a soldier. You are a god of death, manipulating the geopolitics of the region through pure, calculated atrocities.
Level 7. You are the power broker. The jungle is permanently behind you. You operate in the blinding daylight of the global elite. You live in a sprawling, multi-million-dollar fortified estate in the capital of a neutral neighboring country. Your militia is no longer just a rebel army. It is a recognized, untouchable corporate entity that controls 40% of the global supply of specific rare earth minerals. You dine exclusively with corrupt state senators, international banking cartels, and billionaire hedge fund managers. You are the polished, sophisticated face of the syndicate. A consortium of elite Western tech executives arrives at your estate for a private meeting. They sit across from you at a long mahogany table, sipping sparkling water. These are men who run multi-trillion-dollar companies. They know exactly who you are. They've seen the satellite footage of your forced labor camps and the mass graves. They know about the artillery strikes and the child soldiers. But they do not care. They need the thousands of tons of cobalt and coltan you extract to manufacture their smartphones and electric vehicles. They slide a heavily encrypted tablet across the table, offering you a $300 million contract paid through a dizzying labyrinth of offshore shell companies that provides them with absolute, airtight, plausible deniability. You sign the contract with a gold-plated pen. You look into the eyes of these polished, sophisticated billionaires and realize the most terrifying truth of all. You are not a rogue monster operating outside of the global system. You are an essential, highly paid gear within it. The entire modern, civilized world silently relies on your extreme brutality to keep their supply chains cheap and efficient. You have successfully merged the savagery of the jungle with the ruthless capitalism of the boardroom. Level 8. You are the architect. You have reached the absolute, undeniable apex of power. After the sudden, highly suspicious death of the supreme warlord, a poisoning you meticulously orchestrated without leaving a single fingerprint. You claim the ultimate throne. You sit entirely alone in the darkness of an impenetrable subterranean command bunker built deep into the bedrock of the mountains. The bunker is equipped with independent air filtration, massive generators, and layers of blast doors. You possess an offshore net worth exceeding $2 billion. You control a private army of 50,000 men. You dictate the rise and fall of entire national governments. Yet the silence in your concrete fortress is absolute and deafening. The extreme, suffocating paranoia has become your permanent shadow. You trust absolutely no one. You do not sleep for more than 3 hours a night. Your personal chefs are forced to taste your food before you eat it. You rotate your elite bodyguards every month, terrified that one of them has been bought by a rival or a foreign intelligence agency. You have sacrificed your morality, your family, your mentor, and your soul to conquer this empire. You gaze at the glowing walls of surveillance monitors that cover your territory. You realize the ultimate, agonizing illusion of control. You did not conquer the jungle conquered you. You are permanently, inextricably bound to the bloodshed, the extortion, and the endless violence. You know that if you show a single moment of weakness, if you step away for a single second, the vicious wolves you currently command will immediately tear you to shreds to take your crown. You are forced to rule a hell of your own making until the day you die. You walk up to the main surveillance screen showing a live feed from a muddy training camp in the deep bush. You see it clearly. A terrified, shivering 19-year-old kid is pushed into the wet mud. A militia commander stands over him, tossing a rusty Tokarev pistol at his feet, pointing to a bound prisoner kneeling in the rain. You watch the kid's hands shake. You watch the frantic terror in his eyes as he is forced to choose between his soul and his survival. He picks up the gun, desperately believing that if he is just smart enough and ruthless enough, he can survive the system, rise to the top, and eventually win his freedom. He does not understand the absolute cost of his ambition. He has absolutely no idea that the prize for winning the game is losing your humanity entirely. But you do. The cycle resets.